Would you like to learn how to make boots like this? Watch this entire video and you'll learn exactly how to do it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and support our alpaca farm and our art. Thank you so much.
I started by making a template by tracing out my farm boot and then expanding out a little bit from there. I made this template on a piece of plastic from the hardware store, and I folded that plastic in half to make a 2-boot template that's connected in the center. We'll cut this template a little bit later, but for now, the first step is to start laying out the fibers along the edge of the template, allowing the fibers to hang over about 30% or so. By making the boots on a template like this where they are connected in the center, it helps me make sure that all of the fibers are laid out evenly throughout both boots. After completing the layout along the edge, start laying out your first layer of fiber throughout the body of the boots, laying this fiber out lengthwise. Moving on to the second layer of fiber, continuing it in the same direction, I like to use bigger pieces at this point. It's a long process, so if you've got big bats, you might as well use them. Now we're laying most of our fibers out in this lengthwise direction because we want that to be the primary direction of shrinkage. So the boots will shrink in the majority lengthwise rather than widthwise. Lightly felt the first 2 layers on the first side. I put my gloves on, dip my hands in water, get some soap on my hands, and gently apply pressure and friction to begin forming a skin on the felt, meaning the fibers will gently start to hold together. Continue felting throughout the entire boot, leaving the edges unfelted. Apply some bubble wrap on the top, smooth it out so it sticks to the fibers, and prepare to flip over the entire project. After carefully removing the bubble wrap, start to felt the excess fibers along the edge onto the opposite side of the boot template. Lightly wetting your hand, smoothing the fibers over, and being mindful along the curves there around the ankle and the toe and the heel. If you need to, you can gently stretch out the fibers while smoothing them over. I can tell that the edge of the plastic around the toe here has folded over, so I'm straightening it out and then smoothing the fibers back over the toe. Continue lightly felting around the edge of the entire template. You can see here that my fibers in this area have gotten pretty saturated. It's slowing things down for me, so I need to grab a towel to absorb some of this moisture. And then I also decide to cut some of the excess fiber around the toe. It was too much. If you are new to felting, I recommend you watch my tutorial on how to make a simple piece of felt. That will give you the foundation for this tutorial. Just before I get ready to lay out the fibers on this side, I'm checking out the boot and I see the heel of the boot there. The plastic is folded over and I almost missed that. That will give me one boot that's slightly different shaped than the opposite boot, so I need to take some time to fix it. Repeating the exact same process, lay your fibers out along the edge of the template first, and then fill in the body of the template with 2 layers going lengthwise. After you have your 2 layers laid out, it's time to start felting again. Repeating the same process, dip your hands in water, get them soapy, and start with your pressure and friction. If you don't have gloves, put a piece of bubble wrap on top of the fibers and felt over the bubble wrap. The fibers, when they are loose like this, they will stick to your bare hands. If you have gloves on, they don't stick to your hands. So either use gloves or have some bubble wrap, or maybe a type of fabric that is more mesh-like or screen-like, and put that on top and felt through that. Put the bubble wrap back on top and prepare your project to be flipped over once more. There is so much repetition in felt making, so here we are once again smoothing over the edges of the fibers throughout the entire template. We are doing a total of 6 layers of fiber on these boots. Do 3 layers in whatever color you want the inside of your boots to be, and do 3 layers of whatever color you want the outside of the boots to be. After adding a third layer of fiber and felting it, start laying your fourth layer. This will be the outside color of the boots now. The second layer I laid out perpendicular to the first layer of rose gray. Again, I'm trying to encourage shrinkage more in lengthwise rather than widthwise. The reason for this is because if the ankles become too narrow, it will be impossible to get the boot on and off. So keep the boots wide. After 2 layers of rose gray fiber, it's time to start felting again. Prepare the project to get flipped over by using a towel to soak up some water if it's feeling pretty wet and heavy. My fibers are feeling pretty secure, so I'm not going to put bubble wrap on top. I'm just going to go ahead and flip it over. Gently felt the fibers along the edge like you did earlier. Lay out 2 more layers of fiber just like you did on the opposite side. And start felting once more the entire body of the boot. always feeling for thin spots throughout the felting process. Here I noticed one, I grabbed some fiber right away and filled it. You don't want to wait until the fibers are really felted together to fill a thin spot. It's always easier earlier on. Felt the entirety of the template and then flip it over and smooth the fibers over along the edge once more. Add your sixth and final layer of fiber and start felting. After you're done with this side, flip it over and do the opposite side. Again, sixth and final layer of fiber and start felting. Continue felting by hand. If you feel any thin spots, fill them right away and continue felting. Keep an eye on this area around the ankle as well as around the toe and the heel. That is sometimes where thin spots like to creep in. Use your towel to absorb the water and prepare for rolling. Cover your project with plastic, grab your pool noodle or your rolling rod and start rolling. I like to also use a towel here that keeps the roll secure. Roll for about 2 minutes in every single direction, and every time you unroll your project, check the seams and make sure they are not felting. This is really important because it can happen fast and it can ruin your boots. After you've checked the seams and you've gotten out all of the wrinkles, start rolling again. Every single time you unroll your project, check the seams. I cannot stress that enough. And just keep rolling, rolling and rolling and rolling. That's why felt makers are so strong. Once you feel satisfied with the strength of the felt, all of the fibers are staying together really well, and it's time to start shrinking them down, you're going to want to cut them. You can use scissors or you can use a rotary blade like I did here. Cut them exactly in half and pull out the plastic. I actually decided to turn them inside out right away so that I can felt the other side of the boot before they get too small. Be sure to felt the edge where you cut them so that it can heal the edge so that it will not stretch as you continue to felt. Felt the boots by hand, really focusing on the seams and the toes. I like to rub them on the plastic, on the bubble wrap like that. That's a really fast way to felt out any creases. Turn the boots right side out and start rolling once again. At this point, I only really wanted to shrink down the height of the boots while leaving the shoe part of the boots relatively the same size. So I'm just focusing on rolling the top part of the boot over and over again. And again, be mindful of your seams because seams can still form at this stage. Flipping the boots now to where the back side is down, so that back seam area is facing down, and I just continue to roll. Do the same thing, rolling as much as you can in all the different directions, changing the direction often to reduce the risk of seams. Okay, it's finally time to start felting the boots directly on the shoe resist. You can see the shoe area on the boot is already pretty small as I'm struggling to put the resist in. I add hot water because that helps me stretch the fiber. Now these resists are 2 sizes bigger than what I want the boot to be when it's complete. So I still have plenty of space for shrinkage, so be sure to plan accordingly. Here are the leg resists I made. These will slide into the top of the boot to act like the leg as I'm felting. I used these cardboard tubes that some market signage came in. I wrapped bubble wrap around it with the bubbles facing out and secured it with tape.
Congratulations, if you made it this far with your boots, you are now ready to shape and fool them down to size to get them exactly how you want them to be. Situation's a little bit different because this is a custom pair of boots that I'm making for a client. If you're making these boots for yourself, you don't need to have these resists. You can just put the boots on and felt them directly to your foot and leg. But since I'm making these a size 9, so it's a bigger size than my foot, I have to use the resist. So I've got the shoe resist inside, and then I've got these leg resists that I made. I'm gonna film this part of the tutorial out here with the alpacas. This is Annie. She's one of my most favorite alpacas. She was a bottle baby, so Dave and I bottle fed her around the clock until she was 6 months old. And I'm gonna go ahead and get these boots a little bit wet. They're pretty dry. I'm gonna start by just felting with my hands first, really feeling the fiber start to shrink. At this point, you can feel it shrinking right underneath your hands. Areas that you're going to really have to spend a lot of time on will be around the toe, the heel, and then also the arch of the foot here. That's where these tools really come in handy. Does need a little bit more soap. The soap keeps things lubricated so that your hand or the tools can just slide across the fiber. Okay, I've got one boot where I want it. Now I'm going to start on the second boot. Good thing about felting outside is you can just let yourself be messy with it. It is a messy process. So the client that I'm making these boots for, I met at the Sedona art shows. You know, I'm a regular vendor there with the Oak Creek Arts and Crafts Show. And I had a pair of boots on display and she loved them, but they weren't her size. So she left and she came back and she decided to order 2 pairs of custom boots matching for her and her close friend. So that's pretty cute. Getting a pair of custom felt boots for yourself and your best friends you can twin. I just love. It sounds so fun and I hope I get pictures of them. I'll start cycling through the different tools now. Occasionally I kind of stretch out the boot, making sure that it's not shrinking too fast, that creases are forming. You always want to address any creases or wrinkles right away.
just keep felting and felting and felting. From my experience, you always end up felting longer than what you thought you were going to do. In order to really get it to the desired firmness and durability. Especially with boots, you really take the time felting and felting and felting because you want the boots to be so strong and last for a long, long time. Okay, I've worked the boots for quite a while, and I'm gonna take the resists out that are inside and see how they look. Feels pretty good. Standing good. That one felt a little bit tighter. Be mindful of that. Okay, so I'll shrink them down now another size by putting a smaller shoe resist inside. And that will be pretty much the final felting. So just the home stretch at this point.
Okay, here are the finished boots. These took me about 20 hours. And after that last clip of me felting, I felted them one more time, shrunk them down to my desired size, and then I rinsed them and I let them dry. I did a vegetable tanned buffalo leather sole and a detail work, hand rolled cords with ceramic beads and some Surrey locks. And then this thread here around the cords, that's wool thread. Two of the colors are 100% wool. And then the other color there, the light tan, that's 100% camel. So I'm really proud of these boots. I'm excited to get them to the client and then start on the second pair, because remember, the client ordered 2 exact pairs, one for her and one for her close friend, so that they can twin. And they're just gonna look adorable in these. I can't wait to see photos. Anyhow, I hope that this tutorial offered you value and knowledge and it supports your felting journey. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel because I intend on making many more tutorials, and follow us on Instagram at Sacred Alpaca, and stay tuned for all of the magic that continues to unfold on our alpaca farm. Thank you so much.